For many years now, there has been something brewing in the background. Scientists around the world have been experimenting with geoengineering. And over that time period, we have seen several technologies emerge. HARP, cloud seeding to create rain. They have ways to clear the sky of clouds. You've probably seen them spraying the skies. We've heard countries attempt to create an artificial sun and moon. They're even looking for ways to block out the sun. And all this time, many people couldn't quite see what the end game would be. But that's why you are here. When you start to experiment with the weather, of course, at that point you are going to have some resistance from the public because of ethics and because of the potential dangers of doing such things. People tend to think that man should not be screwing around with the weather. So then what happens is, when bad weather strikes, some people are going to think that the weather was manipulated by man, especially if the weather pattern is something that is a rare occurrence. Some people believe that even earthquakes and volcanism could be an effect of some type of geoengineering. At the end of the day, there are people who think that they want to use these technologies to basically take us out or to take out certain people. But the end game is a much darker agenda. What if I told you that they want everyone to think that climate change is so bad and happening so quickly that we need a quick solution now? Because trying to cut global emissions ain't working, and it will fail. And so they want everyone to be convinced that the solution is geoengineering. They are going to say something like, "We must act now." And the sheeple will say yes. "Oh, mighty government, turn on the machine to save the planet." And at that point, once people accept this and they say yes, they've got us all by the balls. The U.S. is researching ways to block the sun. Solar geoengineering may be necessary to avoid the worst effects of climate change. Here we go, ladies and gentlemen. They are going full sci-fi psycho here. They are talking about blocking out the sun. The sun. Now, in this article, they have a list of technologies. I'm not going to read through each one, but I have to read you guys the first one. Listen to this. Stratospheric aerosol injection. The idea. And this is just an idea, guys. One of the first and most popular solar engineering ideas, stratospheric aerosol injection, SAI, calls for the release of tiny particles of a reflective material, such as sulfur dioxide, into the stratosphere, the layer of the atmosphere that extends from 4 to 31 miles above the Earth's surface. Once in place, these particles would, in theory, cool the planet by reducing the amount of sunlight that reaches the lower atmosphere and Earth's surface. Once SAI proposal would target only the atmosphere above the poles to try to refreeze polar sea ice. They said only the atmosphere above the poles, okay? To try to refreeze polar sea ice and slow sea level rise while attempting to minimize the impact on the rest of the Earth's climate. SAI is the only geoengineering technique explicitly mentioned in the request to OSTP for a research plan. It is also the most studied geoengineering technique and probably the most used, and arguably the most likely to work as hoped, as we've witnessed a natural form of it after the eruption of volcanoes. Come on, man. Are we serious? When was this written? 2022. Do you see how they operate, folks? Do you see how they set people up for this? Marine cloud brightening. Now, this is a method of using seawater to create mist above the water. This, in effect, increases the reflectiveness of the clouds above it. You know something, I really hope the idea of blocking the sun goes viral enough to wake some people up, because anyone with a brain and is able to reason with logical thought knows that greenhouse gas emissions are causing climate change. What does the sun have to do with anything all of a sudden? Cirrus cloud thinning. Now, these types of clouds hold thermal radiation from the sun. The idea is to inject dust particles into these clouds to thin them out so that they would hold less of that heat. Then you have space-based sunshades. Regardless of what this space umbrella is constructed of, I don't think blocking out the sun is a good idea. So let me tell you all something interesting about this. Years ago, there was a lot more pollution in the air. That pollution reduced the amount of solar radiation reaching the surface. It's called sun dimming. Now, that is going in reverse today. And with less pollution in the air, we have more sunlight entering the atmosphere. And this actually affects the data of measurements they took years ago compared to now. So when they start mentioning how more solar radiation is entering the atmosphere, just remember that. So now, there are two things they are going to start propagating. Greenhouse gas removal, GGR, or negative emissions technology, such as CO2 removal systems, and solar radiation management, or SRM. By the way, the definition of geoengineering, defined by the Convention on Biological Diversity, is technologies that reduce solar insolation or increase carbon sequestration from the atmosphere on a large scale that may affect biodiversity. You have to understand, folks, they are not talking about capturing CO2 from burning fossil fuels before it enters the atmosphere like they already have in place. They are talking about just straight sucking CO2 out of the air. So yeah, that's all our vegetation needs now, right? Less sunlight and less CO2 for them to absorb. Elon Musk big carbon dioxide removal prize just awarded $15 million. From fancy machines to algae and kelp, the world's richest man is attempting to kickstart a carbon dioxide removal revolution. It started with a tweet, and like many Elon Musk tweets, it wasn't immediately clear if it was something to take seriously, but his promise to offer a $100 million prize for carbon dioxide removal was indeed serious. And on Friday, a group of 15 milestone winners took home $1 million each. Now, I know people say that Elon Musk is a genius. I know this. Now, I'm no genius, but doesn't Musk know that reducing CO2 thus reduces global population growth? He does know this, right? Well, of course he does. He's a genius. Don't these people understand that reducing CO2 ultimately means a reduction in oxygen, and that nitrogen to oxygen ratio is crucial for us to breathe, which means, first, people are going to start getting sicker because oxygen is what many people are lacking already. So with this technology, we should expect people to show signs of hypoxemia, low blood oxygen levels, shortness of breath, headaches, confusion, loss of memory, restlessness. Then we are talking about inflammation of the body tissues. See, people always think that some hero is going to come save them. There is only one who is prophesied to come, and that is it. So anybody else showing up is just part of their global scam. And of course, where there is one trying to scheme, there is another. Bill Gates. It's no surprise he would be invested in green schemes. It's all about the money, folks. These men have money and want more. And when they are given a voice through social media, as they have been graciously by us, because we are the ones looking at what they're saying. What did Bill Gates say? What did Elon tweet on Twitter? White House is pushing ahead research to cool Earth by reflecting back sunlight. The White House is coordinating a 5-year research plan to study ways of modifying the amount of sunlight that reaches the Earth to temper the effects of global warming, a process sometimes called solar geoengineering or sunlight reflection. The research plan will assess climate interventions, including spraying aerosols into the stratosphere to reflect sunlight back into space. And should include goals for research, what's necessary to analyze the atmosphere, and what impact these kinds of climate interventions may have on Earth, according to the White House's Office of Science and Technology Policy. Congress directed the research plan be produced in its spending plan for 2022. You mean to be included in our spending plan instead of the Black Ops spending plan for 2022, which President Joe Biden signed in March. What else can I say, folks? For years, there have been few who have been telling people. I think spraying the skies was one of the first videos I did back in 2016. And now, the White House is saying, that's not a bad idea. Does anyone know what the appropriate form of psychological manipulation this would be considered? I'm not sure. Is this gaslighting? Let's see. Gaslighting is a form of psychological manipulation in which the abuser attempts to sow self-doubt and confusion in their victim's mind. Typically, gaslighters are seeking to gain power and control over the other person by distorting reality and forcing them to question their own judgment and intuition. Yeah, I guess that sounds close enough. They definitely gaslight us in other areas, that's for sure. You know, I often get tired of waking up to this kind of madness, and I think about how long am I supposed to live in this world the way it is, in this state, knowing that all this stuff is a lie. Can you guys imagine living the next 40, 50 years with these clowns? Well, that's all for now, folks. There is more to come and more to reveal. Please be sure to visit woodwardentertainment.com and the Woodward Entertainment Store. You can follow me on Instagram at JAEWoodward. Everyone have a great day, and until next time, stay awake, stay aware, stay safe, and I'll talk to you all soon.